Hello, dear friends. Today we are going to learn about drawing. The objective of this particular chapter is that upon completion of this topic, the student will be able to explain the objective, applications, and mechanisms of drawing process. Also, the student will be able to explain measurements and applications of equilibrium moisture content. Also, they will learn about drawing curve, which is very important to know. Also, the students will learn the principle, construction, working, uses, merits, and demerits of tray dryer, drum dryer, spray dryer, fluidized bed dryer, vacuum dryer, and freeze dryer. So, now let us see what exactly is drying. So, drying is defined as the process of removal of small amount of water or any other liquid from the material by application of heat. Now, drying it can be carried out by either application of a centrifugal force, or it can also be carried out by application of filtration method, and it can also be carried out by application of heat. But in all these three methods, the most cheaper methods are centrifugation method and filtration method. That is, these are also termed as mechanical method. And when you apply heat, that method is called as thermal drying. Okay, so mechanical methods are more cheaper than thermal drying. Okay, so now when you want to dry any substance, at that time that substance might contain water, or it might contain other organic solvents like chloroform, ethanol, and isopropanol alcohol. So when you perform the process of removal of these solvents as well, that process is also called as drying. Okay, so drying is not only just carried out on solids, but it can also be performed on gases. So that is termed as drying of gases. Okay, so the material which is to be treated, it contains both the solid and the liquid. But when you first apply the mechanical process, then you will have to shift to heating or the thermal process. At that time, the material, it contains very small amount of liquid into it. Okay, but the methods such as spray drying, it is available in which the solution and the suspension, it can be processed for drying in one operation itself. That means you don't have to shift in between the mechanical and the thermal process. Okay, so drying then can be defined as removal of all or most of the liquid by supplying heat to cause thermal vaporization. So if you see this, then this is called as drying. So drying is possible when the environment is unsaturated with the water vapor. Hence, humidity is an important determinant for drying of the solids. Now let us see what are the applications of drying. The first application is it is used for preparation of the bulk products or bulk drugs. So in the preparation of bulk drugs, drying is carried out as the final stage of the whole processing. The bulk drugs which are produced by drying are dried aluminum hydroxide, spray dried lactose, and powder extracts. So we can say drying step is essential after certain operations such as crystallization and filtration. The next application is preservation of the drug products. So if your drug substance or your compound or your product, it contains small amount of water, then there is a chance that due to presence of moisture, the chances of hydrolysis, they are increased. The rate of reaction, it increases in presence of moisture or water. Okay, so there is a chance that the product, they might undergo degradation, and hence you cannot preserve that product. But if you carry out drying before preserving, then it is very easy to preserve that drug products. So drug products like crude drugs of animal and vegetable origin, after drying, they are preserved from chemical composition. The bulk products, skin and tissues, they are preserved from microbial growth. Also, the synthetic and semi-synthetic drugs, they are preserved from chemical decomposition, and the effervescent tablets, they are also preserved from chemical decomposition. The next application is improved characteristics. So drying produces materials of spherical shape, uniform size, which is free flowing and enhanced solubility. So some areas which are important of characteristics are, like for example, when the granules they are dried, the fluidity and the compression characteristics are improved, and these are very essential parameters for production of tablets and capsules. Also, the viscous and sticky material, okay, they are not free flowing, and if you dry them, the flowability characteristics are modified. Also, drying, it results into improved handling. Okay, so if you remove the moisture from the material gets converted into lightweight material, and also the bulk of the material is reduced. Okay, so this all leads to reduction of transportation cost, and also it becomes easy for storage. Okay, so these are the applications of drying. Now let us see the theory of drying. So in wet solid mass, water is present as bound water and unbound water. So here the bound water, it is the minimum water held by the material that exerts an equilibrium vapor pressure which is less than the pressure exerted by water at the same temperature. Okay, so this bound water, it is retained in a solid in such a manner that it exerts vapor pressure which is lower than the free water at the same temperature. Okay, this bound water, it is retained inside the small capillaries, fiber walls, and it is chemically or physically absorbed on the solid surfaces. Now let us see what is unbound water. The unbound water is the amount of water which is held by the material that exerts an equilibrium vapor pressure equal to that of pure water at the same temperature. Okay, so this unbound water is mostly present in void spaces. So we can say, when we remove this unbound water, we say the product is air-dried. When we are able to remove this bound water, we say that the product is bone dry. Okay, so as you all know that this unbound water is present in the voids of the solid material, and thus we can say unbound water is present in non-hygroscopic material and bound water is present in hygroscopic substances. Now let us see some major definitions. So the first one is equilibrium moisture content. Now what is equilibrium moisture content? It is amount of water which is present in the solid and which is not at all easy to remove. The free moisture content, FMC, it is the free moisture content. It is the amount of water that is free or which is removed easily or which can be evaporated easily from the solid surface. Now if you look at this carefully, so we can say EMC, equilibrium moisture content, is either not easy to remove or it is not at all removed from the substance. And free moisture is the amount of water which can be totally removed from the material. So we can say the total moisture content of the substance is nothing but it is the sum of EMC and FMC. Now let us see the mechanisms of drying. It involves, as you all know, that heat transfer. Drying, it involves both the processes of heat transfer and mass transfer simultaneously. So heat transfer, it takes place from the heating medium to the solid material. Now if you are using a hot air, the air, it is going to give out its heat to the surface of the solid material. So this is termed as heat transfer. Now as you all know, the unbound water or the moisture which is present in that material, it is present in the voids. Okay, so if you give heat to that material, the water which is present in that voids, it will first come up to the surface of the material and then it will be vaporized. Okay, so this process, it involves mass transfer. Why? Because there is movement of the moisture from this from the voids to the surface and into the uh, atmosphere after vaporization. So if you look at this diagram, uh, what is going to happen? Suppose this is a granule. Now this is not a perfect solid because it contains many voids and cracks inside it. Okay, so these are termed as pores. Okay, now when you apply the heat, suppose you are applying a dry hot air, at that time that heat is transferred to the surface of the molecule, surface of the substance. So this process is called as heat transfer. Okay, now what happens? From the voids, the moisture, it comes over the surface, and from the surface the water gets evaporated. Okay, so the water vapor is released into the atmosphere, and this process is called as the mass transfer. Okay, so drying, it involves both heat transfer as well as mass transfer. So, for drying, various theories are proposed. The first theory is the diffusion theory. Now, in the diffusion theory, it assumes that the effect of the capillarity, gravitational, and frictional forces are very small. So, in diffusion theory, the rate of flow of water is proportional to the moisture contained. That means what? The amount of water which is present inside that substance, the whole and sole amount of water, it comes to the surface and then it gets evaporated. Okay. So according to this theory, moisture movement, it is as follows. First, the water diffuses through the solid to the surface, and then subsequently it will evaporate into the surrounding. The evaporation of water occurs at an intermediate zone much below the solid surface, and then vapors, they diffuse through the solid into the air. So in this theory, it is assuming that much below the surface there occurs conversion of that moisture into vapor, and that vapor then diffuses through the surface of the material. Okay, so the limitation of this theory is that it cannot predict the drying rate over a range of moisture gradients. Okay, and hence this diffusion theory is not much applicable. So the limitation is diffusivity decreases as the moisture content and the temperature decreases while there occurs increase in the pressure. Now the second theory is the capillarity theory. So it is mostly applied for drying of porous granular solids. So the porous material, it contains a network of interconnected pores and channels which are not circular or straight. So at the surface, the cross section of these capillaries, it forms various sizes of pores. So as the drying starts, a meniscus is formed in the capillary and it exerts a force. So this is the driving force for the movement of water through pores towards the surface. So the curvature of the meniscus, it depends on the pore diameter and determine the strength of the capillary force. The capillary force is greater in small pores as compared to that of the large pores. Therefore, it is considered that small pores pull more amount of water from the larger pores, and this larger pores, they get emptied first, and then the smaller pores, they will get empty. So finally, when the pores, they become devoid of water, air will enter into the emptied pores, and the moisture content is relatively higher near the surface. So the capillary theory holds good only for free water in the bed. So this type of movement of liquid takes place in the granules as well as in the space between the granules, that is the void space. So as the pore diameter is very small inside a granule than the surrounding granules, liquid surrounding the granules, it can be removed easily. Then pore liquid inside a granule is vaporized. So diffusion theory is, we can say the diffusion theory is applicable to hygroscopic material, and the capillarity theory is applicable to the porous granules. Okay, and the next theory is the pressure gradient theory. Now this pressure gradient theory, it is applicable to drying of the solids by application of radiation. Here we are not going to use hot air, but we are going to use radiation. So radiation is a source for generating internal heat. The radiation, it will interact with the polarized molecules and the ions of the material. So the molecules they get aligned, or they are which in a normal case they are randomly oriented. So when the field is reversed, the molecules they return to the original orientation in this process, and it gives rise to random kinetic energy or heat to the inside surface of the solid itself. Therefore, liquid inside the solids is vaporized, and as a result of this, vapor pressure gradient is developed, which is the driving force for movement of vapor to the surface. Okay, so this type of drying mechanism is applicable to radiation drying only. Okay, provided that these radiations they penetrate deep inside the solid mass. So these are the three theories which are related to drying. Now let us see equilibrium moisture content. We have already studied about it, but we will see it in detail here. So it is that amount of water which is present in solid which exerts a vapor pressure which is equal to vapor pressure of the atmosphere surrounding it. So EMC in the wet mass is shown like this. Suppose this is a wet mass, and at equilibrium, atmospheric vapor pressure is exactly equal to the vapor pressure of the wet mass. That is, we can say the amount which is left inside the substance is equal to EMC. Okay, so depending on the temperature and humidity, solids may absorb or lose moisture. The most important thing which we have to keep in mind regarding EMC is that it is this amount of moisture which is more difficult to remove in practice, uh, or in normal practice of drying, or we can say this moisture content is retained by the solid under steady state conditions. So we can say this water it does not vaporize and it does not produce vapor pressure. Okay, so a full vapor pressure is not produced, and this uh, water is not removed, and we can say this amount of water it retains gets retained inside the solid. Okay, now depending on the conditions of temperature and humidity, solids they may absorb or they may lose water. Okay, so now let's first see what is desorption. So when air of constant temperature and humidity is continuously passed over the solid which contains moisture more than EMC, then the solid it loses water continuously till it will reach its EMC. So this is called as desorption. So this is the wet mass. When the moisture in the solid is more than EMC, okay, at that time this system when dried it will lose its water continuously, and this process is called as desorption. Now let us see what is sorption. So when air of constant temperature and humidity is continuously passed over the solid which contains moisture less than EMC, okay, then solid absorbs water continuously till EMC is reached. Okay, as we have already seen that EMC is that amount of water which cannot be removed easily from the material. Okay, now when the water or the moisture level in the solid is less than EMC, at that time the material it will absorb moisture from the surrounding till it reaches its EMC. Okay, and this phenomena is called as sorption. Now suppose this is the dry mass which contains the moisture less than EMC. At that time the moisture from the atmosphere it will be absorbed into the system, and this process is called as sorption. So from this two discussions, it is clear that material it can be dried up to EMC, but it will not get dried below EMC. Now let us see measurement of EMC. Okay, the EMC of a material it can be determined. Okay, so the solid samples they are placed in a series of closed chambers such as desiccators. Okay, now each chamber it consists of a solution or a desiccant which maintains a fixed relative humidity in the enclosed airspace. So the solid samples, they are exposed to several humidity conditions. The exposure is continued until the material attains a constant weight, and this is called as equilibrium conditions. So the difference in the final and the initial weight, it will give us the moisture content of the material. Okay, so what are the factors which affect EMC? Okay, the first factor is the nature of the material. The non-porous insoluble solids, they have an EMC of practically zero. For example, is talc. Okay, for fibrous or colloidal organic substances, the EMC values are high and variable. For porous solids, the EMC values are much high and variable. The water may be held in fine capillaries that have no access to the surface. So the dissolved solid may reduce the vapor pressure, and water may be molecularly bound in this case. It also depends on, or the factor which affect next EMC is nature of the air. For air of zero humidity, EMC of all the material is considered to be zero. And as the temperature decreases, as the temperature increases, the EMC of the solid will decrease. Okay. Under the conditions of saturation, that is 100% relative humidity, EMC is minimum moisture content. So this is a graph for the experiment or the determination of EMC. Okay, so the graphs or the moisture curve, it is drawn by taking relative humidity on x-axis and moisture content on y-axis. This is EMC curve. So this was all about the drying, its mechanism, and EMC. Thank you very much for watching.